Good morning, lovely people. Marie Alessi here. I would love to talk to you about being outstanding this morning. I know this little meme of a frog that says, I'm going to stand outside for a little while. So when people ask, I'm outstanding. And I found that so cute, like, because it's just such a cute little frog. And I will post the meme in the comments below so you know actually what I'm talking about. And it triggered me to do this post today because there is something to be said about being outstanding or standing out from the crowd. Um, and I want to especially talk about what effect that might have on you on healing or not healing, not moving forward, not moving out of the pain. Because for me, I want to very much differentiate. There is no moving on from somebody dying in your life that's so close to you. I don't even want to talk about that topic of moving on, moving forward today, but there is a moving out of the pain. I can promise you that. This is why I run Loving Life After Loss. This is why I created a movement in the first place for people who are seeking a different way of dealing with their loss, with their grief. And my entire life has become about loving life after loss. And this is why we are all here. So let me unpack this for you. In our whole evolution, being part of the pack, belonging to a crowd, was absolutely necessary for survival. If you left the pack, you died. The pack looked after you. The pack was full of hunters and gatherers, and those who could make fire, and those who could kill and prepare meals and provide shelter. And if you didn't sleep together, then there was not enough warmth and you would simply die. That's how basic it was in the early days. And you would think that we have moved on from that, maybe in our lifestyle, maybe in the way we live, but not in the way we think and we are driven from our subconscious. There's this little part in our brain that still tells us, if you leave the pack, you will die. We don't consciously think that, but it is there. It is driving us. So for those of you who have never looked into family constellation, please do yourself a favor and Google it, because family constellation is all about that. It's really got its origin in what happens in a system. It's also called systematic constellation. So when you look into what the system, what the family provides for you and how you fit in, it gives you such clarity about what is going on in the family dynamic, in the way you interact with your family, and also what happened to your system, to your family, when the person that you loved so much all of a sudden wasn't physically present anymore. So I looked at that after Rob died. I did a family constellation. It was really fascinating for me to see. It was very emotional for me to do, and I'm glad I did it. It is just incredible. A few people come into a room together to represent family members, and you literally watch from an outside perspective what happens when this person leaves your family and how it affects the family left behind. I too am trained in family constellation, so I use that in my program, Blank Canvas, as well, but only in a very, very short and simplified form, because obviously we cannot all stand in a room together. But before I digress too much from the topic, family constellation will explain to you what happens when you are outstanding, when you stand out from the crowd, when you all of a sudden don't belong to the system anymore, or don't want to conform to the expectations and to the way that you're supposed to behave in your family, in your society. And I can promise you, people will not always react positively to it, or they might not understand how to actually respond to it. And I can certainly vouch for that, because when Rob passed and I decided to turn to happiness And believe me, it was not easy. It was a simple decision because that's what we had promised to each other. If something was to ever happen to either of us, we would take the boys and create the happiest life possible. So that's what I did, because that's what we had decided for each other, with each other. We wanted that for the other person, because that's what love is. Love just wants you to be happy. It's that simple. Yet it's not always easy to execute that. So when Rob passed and I decided to create happiness for me and the boys, my community, my family, my friends, my society around me did not know how to deal with that. Some people might think I lost the plot. Some people thought I was still in shock. Other people thought I was in denial. There were all sorts of accusations, or I don't even want to use such a negative word, all sorts of speculations, because people just didn't know what was going on. People did not understand how a person that had just lost somebody so close to her heart could turn towards happiness. Yet I knew this was the choice for us. I knew this is what Rob and I had decided for each other. I knew it was important for us. And in particular, I knew I did not want the boys to think their life is over at the age of 8 and 10. I knew I had to create something amazing for them. So I stood up and did things differently. I didn't really think this through, how people could respond to it, how people could react to it, how people could think about it, because quite frankly, it was none of my business. I did what I thought I had to do. And then I realized that people just looked at me as, wow, there is a different way. And I could see that there were people that actually got hope from that. So I decided to write a book about it. And when Loving Life After Loss, which was first a book before it turned into a movement, came out on Amazon, it ranked in the top 100 of Australia. It became an Amazon #1 bestseller. And that's when I realized, oh my God, I've got something that the world needs. The world needs hope. The world wants to see somebody who stands up and does it differently, because deep inside of you, everybody wants to be happy. Everybody. If you are in a space where you can admit it, if you are in a space where you can actually live it, if you are in a space whether you can actually allow it in, it's a very different chapter. But deep inside, everybody wants to be happy. So there are people that want to be happy and don't know how to get out of their pain. There are people that want to be happy but don't think that it's ever, ever, ever possible again in their life. And there are people who want to be happy and act upon it. But everyone, every single person who has come to Loving Life After Loss came because something within that title spoke to them. And that to me already shows me that you are looking to love life again. So I want to say something about outstanding. I just started reading a book by the amazing author, Mike Michalowicz, and he writes a lot of books about business and how to be different, and how to, he wrote books like The Pumpkin Plan and Profit First. And his recent book, it's something about being different. I should check the exact title actually to let you know, and I can post it in the comments below as well, because I started reading this book and that's exactly what he talks about. And I'm like, oh my God, this person so speaks my language. And I actually recently had the absolute honor to be in a Zoom meeting with Mike and to talk to him about what I do. And we had a really beautiful chat for a while. And then I knew I had to buy his book, and now I know why. I'm reading it, and it says about, how so many people out there are trying to do the same thing a little bit differently. They're all wearing grey, and somebody tries to wear a bit of a grayer grey and a bit of a different grey, but they all are wearing grey. They all try the exact same approach because it has worked for so many other people. So let's try that again, just put our spin on it, but it stays the same. So what happens is you do not stand out from the crowd till somebody comes along and wears orange or a color that stands out. I always choose orange because I love orange, and of course today I'm not wearing orange, but hey, I'm still not wearing grey. Berry, it's called. So it's all about doing things differently to stand out. And when you stand out, people want to follow you. They want something that you are having because, hey, she looks different. She's wearing colorful clothes, and I want that for myself. It's all about daring to be different because we are still so ingrained to do things the exact same way. But have a look around in our society. How has the exact same way of grieving worked for us? There's still so many people out there, who think that there are the 5 stages of grief and somehow you need to get through and then you'll be fine. And in every interview, when I'm asked this question, and I promise you, I'm asked this question, this very question about the 5 stages of grief, in pretty much every second interview, there are no 5 stages of grief. That what people think are the 5 stages of grief by Dr. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross were actually 5 stages of terminally ill people, not for grief, never intended for grief. The bargaining, the anger, the denial, all these stages were for people who were terminally ill. And when you think about it, it makes a lot of sense in the space of terminally ill people. The anger, the bargaining, the denial, all these things make sense. And then, at the end, there is the acceptance. But it doesn't make sense in grief. It never made sense to me. I was never angry. I was never bargaining. I was never in denial. Acceptance, very different topic for me. Because acceptance often has something resigning that comes with it. Okay, I resign to the fact that I'm going to die, as an example. I'm not yet. So I want you to think about, what can you do differently in the space of grief? For me, I always had my focus on, how can I feel loved, nurtured, supported? How can I allow happiness into my life? How can I feel joy again? How can I do these things? If you ask yourself if you can do that, you're on the wrong track. But when you ask yourself, how can I do it? You're on the right track, because this is when your brain goes into solution mode. You actually believe that somehow, somewhere inside of you, it's possible. Dare to stand out. Dare to do things differently. The world needs you. The world needs all of us to shine our light so brightly, it becomes contagious. And what I want for you is to find happiness, to find a way to love your life again, to find a way to allow joy in. This is why I founded Loving Life After Loss. This is why I write a daily newsletter called Sparks of Joy, just to have that little injection of joy into your life on a daily basis. I want you to have that. This is why I dare to stand up. Even when I was scared at first, when I started Loving Life After Loss, I didn't dare to stand up and talk about things like that yet, because I was worried about offending people. I was worried about hurting people with my happiness. I was worried to be seen or perceived as inappropriate with my happiness, with my path to healing, with my path to joy, with my path to loving life after loss. I was worried about offending people, till my mentor almost shook me, virtually, not literally, and said, Marie, you have to stand up with your message. People need you to stand up and say that. You have to fight for your message. You have to vouch for it. You have to stand up and share it, own it. And I did. It was about 9 months into founding the movement, and people noticed the shift. People sent me text messages, people rang me, people sent me emails, and like, wow, something in your message has shifted and it really speaks to me. The feedback was through and through positive, and I did not expect that. Here am I sitting and worrying that I could offend people, that I could go too far, that I could be too happy. I was worried about judgment. The fear of judgment was keeping me small. And then I changed something and I stood up, and people loved it. People needed it. And that's when I realized that I was being brave for them. I was being strong for them. I was being courageous for them. And then people started to follow because they wanted it. They needed it. And things started to shift in our movement, and it grew and grew and grew. And we went from back then like under 1,000 people to meanwhile 3,500 people, because people need happiness to heal. But here's the thing: happiness is a decision, healing is a decision. And if you don't know how to do it, if you still don't know where to get started, then shoot me a private message. Send a message underneath, like leave a comment, and I'll be in touch with you. I'd be so more than happy to just jump on the phone, just have a chat. This is not a free session I'm offering. I just want to have a chat to you. I just want to connect with you and have a bit of an insight into your world, so I can show you what your path out of the pain could look like. I dare you. Stand out, do it, just, connect with me. Or simply go to mariealessi.com and you find all the ways to connect with me, or even to work with me, or to send me an email, or to get my book, or to learn about the courses, the retreats that I'm running. It's a retreat coming up in July. I am so excited about it. The retreats are very intimate gatherings, like very small groups. I'm only taking a maximum of 6 people to this retreat. So if that is something that you'd like to experience, let's have a chat about that. But don't hold back. Don't hold back, and don't stay stuck in the pain because you think that's what society expects of you, or because you think there is no way out of this. I can promise you there is. Thank you so much for being here today. Thank you for even considering the thought of standing out, because I can promise you standing out will change your life. I'm sending you so much love. This is Marie signing off. Bye for now.